Hello everybody, welcome back on the Versus, and the first trip out for a week exactly. Just rub my nose there for a second. So yeah, this one's going to be recounting of the past week. You might remember the last video I did, which was about the fairest Cum into Cum Pennant and the copper mine there. A few days after I'd done that video, I decided to go and explore an adit, which for the uninitiated is a tunnel that was driven in looking for copper ore, and I was a little bit stiff. My back had been playing up a little bit over the previous couple of days, but nothing serious. I've had very minor back niggles over the years. Never stopped me doing anything, but in any case we went in. We had some waders on because the water was a little bit deep at the beginning, but it soon shallowed out, and I took some photos. I had the tripod on a half setting, so I had to bend down a little bit to look through the viewfinder, because it's that old-fashioned sort of glass prism type, and hasn't got a screen at the back or anything. Well, it has got a screen at the back, but not a tiltable one. I can feel, well, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but anyway, we carried on, and we got about, well, actually we got to the very end of the tunnel, which is 400 metres in. But about 300 metres in, I felt, oh, my back's going a little bit more here, but I persevered. Took a couple more photos, and then as soon as we got to the very end, at the 400 metre mark, my back just gave up completely. I just couldn't move, and I was in terrible pain. That sort of nerve pain that meant I couldn't move one of my legs, my right leg. I just couldn't move it at all for a little bit. Luckily my son was with me, and he noticed my spine had gone very tilted. Oh, hello. Oh, it's Anglesey Show today, so lots of traffic coming away from there. I'll take it easy today because I'm not as strong. And anyway, there's a solid white coming up, so there's no point. Yeah, so my son was with me, noticed my spine had tilted to the right, and he sort of helped me rectify that so that I could very, very, very slowly walk out of a very wet section that was the end. And I had to get out of the wet section because, oh, well, I'm going to be stuck here because I'll never make it out the rest of the length. I'll have to get mountain or cave rescue to come and get me. It is just a tunnel. It's not one of those caves that you're sort of squeezing yourself into narrow passages or anything like that. It's a walk-in tunnel effectively, and quite a well constructed one. So, you know, I'm 6'2". I could stand up properly in most places. But anyway, we got out of the wet patch and we got into the dry rock, and I thought, well, there was nowhere really to sit down or to rest or anything, because, you know, the cave rescue could be 2 or 3 hours or more getting there. So I persevered. Luckily they had to bend down a little bit because the tunnel got a little bit shorter, and that took the pressure off my nerves, and I was able to come out fairly quickly, luckily. But I had to sort of walk quite slowly over a couple of fields. I had to drive back because my son's not insured on the car. We could have insured him temporarily if I thought about it, but I was alright. Anyway, I got back home, got on the sofa, lay down, because lying down usually sorts things out for me, but on this occasion it really didn't. I couldn't get back up again. And anyway, a couple of hours later the ambulance came, gave me a check out, gave me some Entonox to get up, which I did. Into a wheelchair, into the ambulance, into the hospital, where I had to wait for, I think, about 8 hours, I think, altogether, outside in the ambulance. Terrible waste of money and staff. Very boring for the staff as well. Far better off spending that money on more resources than wasting it endlessly on ambulances that do nothing outside A&E. Or the ED, as it was for me. And yeah, lay on my back until the morning when the doctors started again, and had a couple of x-rays. Anyway, turned out my the lower spine, I've got a bit of a degraded vertebra. I've lost the curvature to my spine at the lower part, but I suspect I never really had much of a curvature. I seem to remember having a trouble back when I was young, but nothing serious. But in any case, he thought it was osteoporosis, which is quite strange for a man of 56. And but in any case, when I got to see the doctor a couple of days later, the diagnosis wasn't osteoporosis but osteoarthritis, which probably makes a bit more sense. And I had to get that clarified. I'm just waiting to clarify which of these two it actually is, because obviously that makes a difference as to the treatment I get. So anyway, after a week of the initial pain, today it's not as hot as it was. It's 21 on the bike at the moment. It was a very warm sort of 26, 28 yesterday, and far too hot to do anything yesterday other than stand in front of a fan and do a little bit of reading, which was quite nice. Oh great, we've been doing the road here. Oh, there we are. We've got rid of all the chippings on most of them, so that's good. Don't really want wheel wobbles, do we, on the gravel? And so I had a quick test. I sat on the bike in the garage with my kid sort of supervising me, and that was on the centre stand, so obviously it's a little bit higher than on the side stand. And I got on there okay. Stretching seems to work quite well for me, actually. Sitting on a low stool and everything, stretching, that's okay. Sitting for any length of time, let's get it over this gravel bit here, there we are. Sitting's not really my thing at the moment. I find it really uncomfortable, just sort of ants in your pants type thing, not a pain. But anyway, here I am folks, back on the bike, inspired by a few short videos on various social media. Nice weather, so I think I can get out there now. Yeah, big thanks to all the people at Ysbyty Gwynedd and the ambulance crew. Just a shame they're all being let down by the political system and their unwillingness to do anything than run the NHS on the lowest common denominator. They, just all it needs is a few extra rooms, really, to avoid those ambulances doing nothing there for hours and hours and hours every day. It's absolutely criminal. So if you're in the business of stirring things up with your local MP or other politicians, do so, because we all think it won't be us until it is. And if it was something far more serious than a painful, or very painful back, then it's no laughing matter when you have to just sit there wondering what the hell's wrong with you, and when you might be seen, when your treatment might begin. It really isn't on. It's up to all of us to change that. So it was quite an eye-opener, because of course most of the people in the hospital were elderly. One of them was quite aggressive and threatening violence against a couple of the nurses. I don't think he meant it, to be honest. I mean, he wasn't well, obviously, but he didn't sound to me as though he was just sort of getting noticed, I think, getting a little bit of attention. You know what people are like. But all the same, there's no excuse for it, unless you've completely lost your mind, which of course happens from time to time in a hospital. But he hadn't. He was just being unpleasant, really, because he was a bit fed up of waiting and all this kind of stuff. Police eventually came to have a word with him, which is again another waste of resource. So yeah, there we are. That's been this week. So you'll forgive me for the video not being exactly exciting today. We're just going to go back through Llangefni here. Coping with the bike fine, putting my foot down no problem at all. Changing gear, putting my feet back on the rest, a little bit stiff but nothing painful. Look at this person, look at it. Hello! Hello! Good grief. Yeah, well, I did have the indicator out, however, so that's partly my fault. Yeah, so we're not doing very much today, just getting through Llangefni. My wife was worried that I wouldn't be able to handle the weight of the bike, which, okay, it's a consideration, of course, but of course, as you know, practically all the weight is on the wheels and balanced, so that's not an issue. It would be an issue if you sort of had a bit of a faltering stop and sort of did a little bit of hopping, you know. This happens sometimes, doesn't it, when you're caught unawares, caught by surprise. It happens sometimes, but I'll try and make sure that doesn't happen today. I'll make it my business to think well ahead where I can, but can't allow for everything. Yeah, pretty busy. It's kind of peak tourist season here on Anglesey, as it is pretty much everywhere, I guess. The Anglesey Agricultural Show, as I mentioned earlier, that's ongoing. Yeah, they're all at it today. He just about gets away with it, I think. Being a little bit later, there'll be a video off to the police, I think. Yeah, so other news on the biking front, following in the footsteps of the Scottish experiment with road markings for bikers. We're getting road markings. More bloody gravel. This is not a good road for having gravel on. Yeah, sort of chevrons really that guide you into corners in a sort of controlled way, which, you know, if you're familiar with the road, is not going to help you very much, I don't suppose, but if you're not familiar, then I suspect it'll probably help you quite a lot. It's shown quite a good decrease in accidents on corners in Scotland, so they've rolled it out really quickly after that experiment. Actually, they've only just issued a report on it, I think. So that's kind of good to see. It's still smacks a little bit like blaming bikers for accidents again. I don't see any real campaigns at all to make drivers aware of their shortcomings, notably, you know, the left-hand bends, the Smidseys. Don't see any campaigns about that at all. It's always just the bikes. The signs they put up are always just for the bikes. I'm happy to take our part in road accident causes, but, you know, it's not just down to us, is it? It really isn't. So, but there we are. As it stands, those chevrons, I'm sure they'll make an interesting experience when I come across them. I don't know if we've got any in my area just yet. I'm sure we soon will have, because of course Eryri, Snowdonia is very popular with visiting bikes, weekends and holiday periods. So yeah, look out for those wherever you happen to be. There we go. Yeah, I've loosened up quite a bit more on my left hand side since I started off, so yeah, going quite well. Could do with a drink now, actually. It's been warm. It used to get warm in the evenings, I don't know, in my house anyway. It just seems to be unbearable from about 5 o'clock onwards. I was really complaining going to bed last night, but yeah, just had a sheet over me really and the fan going flat out. But nice weather. Nice weather to be out and about. I don't think I'll be up the mountains in this, in fact I know I wouldn't be. But I might be doing a little bit more surveying of the copper mines. Lots of people have been in there. Lots of people have written about it, but they haven't really sort of pulled it all together. They haven't surveyed it properly. They've got some maps which are not right. Some assumptions about different levels being connected where in fact they're not. Yeah, that kind of thing. And got a lot of stuff in the press about development of the mine in the later part of the 1850s, when the company had changed hands, and there's a wheel pit, a small wheel pit, water wheel pit, that I noticed. Nobody's ever written about that. They just sort of look at it and sort of ignore it largely. That includes the official historians. But it obviously was a wheel pit. but no mention of it anywhere. But looking at the old newspaper archive yesterday, I did come across a reference to the bigger wheel being installed in 1859, whereas the prospectus for raising some money, dated 1850, mentioned a wheel as well, but that was obviously another wheel, and that would be the smaller one. And that was for pumping water out of a couple of shafts, or one shaft I think probably initially, and then the second one came later. And they're all flooded now sadly, so we can't see what progress, if any, they made at the bottom of those shafts. Probably not an awful lot. It was a company that never made much money, so I don't think they found much. Certainly there was precious little trace of copper when I reached the end of the mine on last Wednesday. One little copper stain really. They were trying to follow a vein that had been exploited through stope working probably from about 1830s onward. That did contain a reasonable amount. I think they sold several tens of tons a year from that, but only for a very limited period. Get my feet back now. There we are. And but they never did find any more metal down there, so they gave up. The amount of money they were raising was quite spectacular. It was about 120,000 quid in 1850 values, which, depending on the deflator you use, and use it as the economic share, sort of relative importance of that mining enterprise to the value of the economy as a whole. I mean, it came out as, I think, something like 64 million quid or something. You know, it was quite a lot of money involved. But that wasn't just for that mine though. It was for some slate mines and other metal mines as well. So the copper mine I was looking at would only account for a fraction of that amount of money, so a small fraction as well, I would imagine. But in any case, an interesting place to go and have a look. I'm trying to work out the geology so I can write a little bit, a little sort of a summary of the geological setting for it all, for which I have to rely on others. Certainly the geology of North Wales is probably the most complex you'll find anywhere in Britain, really, or even the world for that matter. So I had to rely on my friend John the Rock Mason, who was quite a pretty clever guy, and I say was sadly because today I discovered that last year he died. I had sent him an email, I think probably last year, and he hadn't responded, which is very unusual because he's very enthusiastic and was able to explain geology in terms that a pleb like me could understand. I'm not entirely innocent in the ways of science. I understand, I have a good grounding in it, as you understand. I've worked in science all my life, but geology wasn't really one of them. And yeah, never heard anything, and it turned out that was because he had a heart attack and died instantly of it, which is a good thing for him, of course. But a big loss to the Welsh geological, to the geological community in the round. These specialised in the mineralisation and the ore bodies of mid and North Wales. You might argue that he was the only one who really understood it, because he revised quite a lot of the understanding of geology in the area. So I don't suppose we'll ever get anybody quite like John again. He was a nice bloke, and lots of nice tributes to him, genuine tribute as well, on Facebook that his sisters operated after his death. So there we are. Mines and how they can be injurious to your health, although to be honest it wasn't the mine at all. I didn't slip, I didn't do anything. The worst I did was to bend very slightly just to take a photo. So I could well have faced my back going whilst I was on the bike, or on my own up a mountain anything could have happened really. There was no real identifiable cause for it. So I went to the GP. The GP wasn't really not helpful at all. They thought you're either there for drugs, which I'm not, or for a sick note, which, being retired, rather obviously I'm not. So I wasn't very impressed with them at all. It's the first time I've ever visited my GP, the one I have at the moment anyway, in the 4 years I've been where I'm living at the moment. But I shall soon see the physiotherapist in about 3 weeks' time, so I'll explain the story with them and see what exercises. I still have some exercises from having this about 11 years ago. So I'm doing them and they seem to be working. Walking about 5 kilometres a day at least. And hopefully we'll be returning to bike and hike. Those videos that hardly any of you seem to like, unfortunately, but you know, I do the video channel largely for my kids and for myself really. If you don't like them, if you want to watch people treating the public roads as though they're a racetrack, well, that obviously isn't me. If you want to make fun of people wearing fluorescent jackets because they don't want to be a victim of a smidsy, well, that's not me. So I'm just true to myself and doing what I've always loved, which is being on a motorbike. I've had far too many years off them, and I don't know really why, to be honest. I should have returned to it a lot at a lot younger age, but there we go. And being up or in mountains, got quite a lot of work to do on that copper mine, and that's just one. There are plenty of others. I don't think I'll make a habit of it. I just sort of do ones which I tend to sort of find myself being interested in. So there you go. So I'm going to make my way up to Money Paris again. Bloody foot down now, thanks to them. There we are. Okay. Yeah. This is Strawsa Horse, so called because practically everybody comes to live here. And quite a lot of them are relocated from other areas as undesirables. They come here and fill fields with ponies like this. Yeah, the kid's happy to see a bike, which is good, isn't it? Couldn't quite get to the... I was having a Honda moment there, couldn't get to the horn in time. Yeah, keep your van where it is. Yeah. He was having a bit of a breakdown as to whether or not he was going to get out of the way there. Yeah. Yeah, no pain on compression of the spine there either, so that's good. Right, here we go. He's got a van ahead, quite well camouflaged van. There we are. Watch this one, because people come around that corner at anything up to 115 miles an hour according to the police records, which she showed me once. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's nice to see the sea again. One of the worst things about being in hospital was they had no windows in the ED. I had absolutely no idea what time of day it was at all. Quite depressing for a man who spent his life outdoors and generally just spends his life looking skywards. And yeah, so we're going to have a quick rest here just to stretch my legs a little bit. Oh, well, we've got, what was this, VJ Day or something, was it? I had flags up for V, no, I think they're just leftovers from VE Day. No, that can't be right, because they weren't here the last time I came. VJ Day, probably, which is only last week. Tell you what, I've got good low speed control today. Wind coming from the south. Anyway, it's nice to see the flags out for VE and VJ Day, because the war in the Pacific is largely ignored, isn't it, really? Apart from by the Americans, I guess. Yeah, there's a good wind from behind. If I let go, I think I'll be pushed over the edge here. Oh, just a quick stop here and look at the sea. Yeah, so what else has happened in the past week? Well, nothing much. I've been using the time to read up Aneurin Bevan's biography by Michael Foot. Those of you of a certain age like me will remember Michael Foot and how he was pilloried for being variously called a socialist, communist, whatever, by the right-wing press. How things don't change. But a very good writer, and wrote a very touching sort of biography of Aneurin Bevan, the former of the NHS, who was, of course, a committed Marxist. So when you find yourself getting cross at the left of politics, just remember that the NHS that looks after you was implemented. It wasn't created, but it was implemented by Aneurin Bevan. The NHS as a concept went back many years before, but and it was Aneurin Bevan who pushed it through against enormous resistance from the BMA and doctors in general. But he won them over because he was a good orator, and that's been a really good read. I've really enjoyed reading that. It sounds really dry, doesn't it, political autobiographies, but it's very much worth a read, and I'd encourage you to read volume 2 certainly. I just started on volume 1 now because that tells the story of Aneurin Bevan's earlier years before he entered politics. And that will be just as interesting because, of course, he came from the Welsh coal mining valleys and was himself a miner for some years. He was unemployed, knew what poverty was, you know, all those things that most of our politicians anyway these days have no idea about. No idea at all. And Bevan was completely uninterested in his own character. He detested the politics of personality. Complete altruist who was doing everything in the public good. There are people like him still around, but they're very much in the tiny minority, and of course get drowned out as Bevan himself did quite often. He had a years-long campaign waged by his opponents within the Labour Party, notably Hugh Gaitskell. I hope I pronounced that properly. Well, try pronouncing a Welsh name, see how you get on. I can be excused. Who was always trying to undermine him, power plays and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, have a read if you can get a copy. I think you can only get a second-hand copy now. There's some very good quality ones. I have the 2 volumes I've got are in as new condition, even though they date from the early 1970s. So I'm lucky to get that. I'm told on good authority that my mother-in-law may get copies for Christmas from my wife as well. Who was also from South Wales originally. I wouldn't know anything. I'm a committed North Walian, a GOG as we call them. GOG and Southie. Wales is a funny country because north and south are separated by difficult terrain, which has never really been overcome by roads. I mean, the A470 goes down there, but it's not the world's fastest road. It isn't dual carriageway, apart from sort of certain sections here and there. Look out for the kid, he's not coming across. There we are. And so, you know, if you're going to go down to South Wales by train, we're going to go down to Cardiff from Bangor or Holyhead. Talking about it's a good 4 hours, which is almost as long as getting to London. And of course that means that communication, the ordinary day-to-day communication between north and south, is not that frequent. I did for a period go down to Swansea from North Wales on a couple of day trips. I'd sometimes fly to do a little bit of photography and that kind of stuff, and then because you can't be paid for flying as a private pilot, I'd drive down there and then get flown around by another pilot whilst I took the photographs, doing it for planning purposes and stuff on bank holiday weekends, mainly campsites, to see whether people were stuffing too many tents and caravans into their sites than was good or was legal for fire safety mainly, and there were quite a lot of them, and you think, well, isn't that like being a bit of a snitch type thing? And well, not really, not when you got families going and going for a nice weekend and the fire regulations are being broken. Not funny at all. I mean, a melting tent around your skin is not something you'd wish for anybody, is it? So, but that work all died down because well, it was too expensive for the council anyway, and I guess they probably do it by drone these days, I guess. Well, I don't do any of that anymore. I don't even put myself forward for that anymore, sorry. But there we are. Well, I'm very happy with how it's gone on the bike. We'll see how I am when I get off it and walk around a bit, and go for my evening walk a bit later on. It's a bit too warm right now. We'll go when the sun's gone down. Quite a few people walking after sunset last night, and tomorrow I think is going to be quite a nice day again, but a little bit cooler. It's going to be, well, not cooler than today actually, it's going to be much the same I think, around about 24 Celsius, something like that, which is tolerable. There we go. So with just a few miles to go until I get back home. Thanks for joining me on this recuperative bike ride, I suppose you could call it. Jolly happy, of course, as you bikers will know, nothing quite as good for your mental health, or as it turns out your physical health, than being on a bike, is there really? Looking forward to continuing my recovery and going down to mid Wales maybe. Plenty of mines down there, but I haven't got enough life left to finish surveying any of them. Even to start surveying them, to be honest. So thanks for watching. Sorry it's a bit dull this time round, but let me know what you've been up to. Maybe post a few links to your own videos. I'll try to keep up with a few, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'll let you know how I'm getting on without too much bleating on about old man health issues, hopefully. So once I've negotiated these corners, just in case a vehicle comes on the wrong side of the road, as they quite often do on this one, I shall wish you good luck and good health, safe riding. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. That's a good one to finish on, isn't it?